Sometimes a game is way more than the sum of its parts, and that's exactly how I feel having played through the Forest Quartet. It's a game that deals with grief, and it has 3/4 of a jazz band coming back together to reminisce and play a final concert in tribute to their lead singer who's passed away. Now, this is a real life lived in experience, and the game has kind of been born out of a labour of love to try and tell that story. And whilst the puzzles themselves and the actual gameplay itself is quite simplistic, the Forest Quartet absolutely nails a specifically dense atmosphere that hangs over anyone that's suffering from grief. And it left an indelible impression on me long after playing. And so what I would say for anyone that's interested in this, if you like slightly quirky and abstract puzzle games that are very simplistic, or if you're looking for a game that leaves a emotional impact on you long after playing and lets you kind of twiddle around in your head thoughts, feelings, ideas and processing of things, then the Forest Quartet I think will be right up your street. Other players I think might struggle a little bit to break through the wall that this game provides. You play as the lead singer who's passed away in spirit, but what she's able to do is kind of conjure up and move around these weird light machines inside the forest where all of the players live, so that they can basically have their energy or their internal light and hope and lust and love for life reignited again through their passion for music and creativity to then go and partake in this final concert. The way how that works is through some very light puzzle work. So it'll be dragging and dropping of blocks, turning on machines and spinning them around by doing different things on the controller. And what I would say throughout all of this is that whilst it's quite obvious what it is that you need to do, and there's very little in terms of like hand holding, because everything is so simple and straightforward, it's the sound design that really drew me in and the abstract nature of everything, because you're in this dark, gloomy forest. And whilst it changes depending on which person you're trying to bring back to the concert, because someone is depressed, so it's much more darker, or anxious because they're a bit more like vibrato-y. And then there's someone who's more angry, so there's just forest fires everywhere that you have to put out. That's all well and good from a metaphorical or literal standpoint. But what it does is the sound design for everything that you pick up and everything you move around and everything that you drop and all the machines that you turn on constantly creates this like tuning in and out frequency. So it's like you're constantly in and out of radio sounds, a little bit like Oxenfree in a way. How it just beautifully pulls together like smooth percussive motions with tuned percussive stuff. Lots of like vibraphone, tongue drum style things, little emphases of like saxophone or jazzy elements in the background. And it really, really draws you in. And it's one of those games where I genuinely recommend wearing headphones for it, because it's an all-encompassing 360 sensory experience, I would say. However, if you're coming here for like, I want to be challenged by the puzzles, then I think you'll be quite disappointed, because outside of a couple of things that are like taming beasts or working out how to move some platforms around, this game is very simplistic because it wants to tell this universal story about coping and moving on with grief and taking grief with you. And so quite wisely, I think it's not put too much of a difficulty barrier in the way. But it does feel quite satisfying to watch the forest regrow around you as you turn on lights or turn on machines and do your own thing. The music, when it actually does come, is beautifully done as well. Excellent jazz moments, particularly when you get to pause and just listen to something on vinyl in someone's house in the pause menus if you want to, or like between acts, as the game is set up in 3 acts. And then there's like the closing finale concert where everyone gathers together, and I found that quite quietly emotional, particularly if you've recently been through grief or a loss, or that's on your mind. Maybe I'm particularly perceptible to this type of thing at the moment, given the last year and a bit that I've had in my life. This hit home, and so yeah, I genuinely recommend this as a emotionally charged game to play for you to then ponder on and twiddle about with afterwards. If you're coming to here for action and adventure, I think you've disappointed. Written review will be over on higherplanegames.com. You guys take care. Higher Plane Games is part of the Higher Plane Network, a completely independent media outlet supported by people like you. The goal is to create the best possible content that cultivates a richer indie scene for games as well as music and entertainment. To find out more and to get involved, visit patreon.com/higherplane network. Your support makes all the difference, and in return you'll gain access to bonus content and downloads. Thank you for watching.